What is up, guys? I'm Greg Ha, and you're watching I Like Collectibles. Today I'm going to take a look at multiple Grail books, both from Marvel and DC, to see how they've done over the last couple months. For this, I'm going to use GPA. For anyone that doesn't have it, check out GPA Analysis. It really helps checking the value of slab CGC books. So let's dive right in. As you can see on my screen here, I am on GPAanalysis.com already. Make me a little smaller so you can see a little better. You don't need to see my face that big anyway, right? So first, let's take a look at... I had these preloaded, but they do take a moment to load up. The Incredible Hulk 181. And usually, with this book, all the arrows are pointing up. There are a couple pointing down, and those are November sales and December sales, so they are pretty recent. Let's take a look and see what the sales data is showing us. So for this, I'm going to look at a Hulk 181 8.0 CGC graded book, and you can see that it really peaked at the end of May, beginning of June, when the X-Men hype. That's not surprising because at that time the X-Men hype coming to the MCU was really all over the internet. Everyone was talking about it. So at that time, this book had a few sales in the $8,300 to $10,000 price range. So that's, I mean, even so, that's still within a 30-day period. That's a pretty big variance in price. Obviously, that doesn't take into account page quality, so one may have been cream pages while the other was white, so it's really hard to know. Unfortunately, it doesn't provide that data. But that is still interesting. There's a $2,000 difference there. You could see that at the end of September, just 4 months later, and I should say the right here, the mouse cursor is showing the time and the day that these ran when I mouse over here, so you can see 5:31 for the peak, 4:30 about around that time, and then it dropped down 9:30, which just 4 months later it dropped down to 57.98 on a sale. It's slowly inching its way back up. There's only been 4 or 5 copies sold since this low in an 8.0. And I went with an 8.0 because it is a pretty common grade, and there are quite a few of them. As you can see, there's 50 sales. This 7,300 depicts the last 12 months, and there's 50 sales in the last 12 months. So I wanted to go with something with a healthy number there. The last sale is this last number here. It went for $7,301, and the 90-day GPA, I should say, is slightly down from the 12 months. So overall, it's holding pretty steady, but it's a little bit low. It's below its 12-month GPA, but that's interesting coming off basically doubling from what it was the prior year in 2020. Went from 39.86 to 73.19, and it's hanging around in that same area here. If you click this down arrow, you can see all of the individual sales, and you can see that there was a book that just went for $8,000 at the end of November, and that's a 8.0 again. Some of these here that are linked. Typically what they will be are auctions like Heritage or Hakes, or one of the more common, and this is a Heritage auction. You can see that this is where it's sold. Typically on some of these lower sales, I'm noticing that they are through auction houses and not through eBay. I should say, eBay obviously is an auction house as well, but it seems that some of these prices are a little healthier through eBay. Let's check out. This is a $6,900 sale through Heritage, and then right above it there was an $8,400 sale. So let's take a look. The $6,900. Let's take a look at this page quality. So it's off-white to white pages on this that went for $6,900. As you can see here, though, there's definitely some color fade going on the right side of this book. This book should be quite a bit brighter. So that did affect the value, and that's something to take in mind. Eye appeal. Don't just go off the grade, guys. Also go off the eye appeal. The eye appeal is extremely important when going for a book of this magnitude. You want to make sure that it pops, the colors pop, It looks good. The centering's good. And another thing is, as you can see, the centering's a little off on this book, so it is misaligned. You can see the black from the back cover there creeping up. So let's close this and take a look at the other book that sold just 2 weeks later for $8,400, $1,500 more. I'm betting you this is going to look quite a bit better. Yeah, look at that. Look at the centering. There's still a little black that peeks through, but the centering's much better. The red coloration is better. This red is supposed to be a deep, deep red. And if it does have a little lightning on it, then that's a sign that it's been exposed to sun. And unfortunately, this red, if you put this book in a window, a lot of times people ask me, why does the cover look so faded if it's been in a short box or wherever it's been? A lot of time these books, in the 70s, 80s, they weren't worth nearly as much as they are now. So the comic shops would put them up in the window, the front window of the comic shop, to show off the book and say, hey, look what we got in here. Well, unfortunately, especially with this red and some yellows and different colors, it fades out pretty bad. Over the years, I've had some pretty faded whole quantity ones, and this is one book that's highly susceptible to that fading. So yeah, what I was getting at here, I'm kind of going off on a tangent now, but what I was getting at here is this book over the last 12 months has about held its value. When you look at the 8.5 here, it's come up a little bit. The 9.0 has come up just marginally comparatively to what is that, 5% increase? Which is still, I mean, with any type of investment, 5% in a year it's not bad. It's not what we've seen from these whole quantity ones, but a lot of people got in and doubled their money within months, and that was just insane. The 7.5 is holding pretty well, about to where the GPA is at. The 7.0 has come up about $1,000 over the last 12 months, but the last sale is $61.75, so it's more in line, kind of falling back in. Let's take a look at the graph and see where this is at. You can see that again, this peaked around the same time. March to May was really when the X-Men mania was going on, the Omega Red. Everybody was all about Wolverine, and yeah, that's really where it peaked. So let's take a look at the next book. Next up, I'm going to do 3 Marvels, and then I will do 3 DC books. Let's open these tabs so they can load here. Next, let's do Fantastic Four 48, the first appearance of Silver Surfer and Galactus. This is an interesting book because some of the recent sales, it's going up pretty much across the board on the higher grades. So typically when I look at higher grades, I look at 7.0, 7.5 or so and up. So you can see that the 90-day on a 7.5, or the 12-month rather on a 7.5 is 53.83. The 90-day is 57.60, and the most recent sale is 55.20. Now, what's interesting here is this. An 8.5, when you see all the other books on the upswing, and you see one book like this that's just really taking a nosedive, that's very interesting to me. This book from a $9,000 12-month to $7,800. So there's 2 recent sales that are extremely low, and a buddy actually pointed this book out to me, so I wanted to bring that up. It's a good thing when you see all the books in different grades around one grade going up, and that one grade has a couple low sales. You can pretty much consider that an anomaly, because it just doesn't really make much sense. This is November sales. This is also November sales. Numbers are dipping. I mean, it's obvious that they are coming down a little bit, but to dip that much when this book, let's see here, look how much that dipped. It went from a peak of $14,800 average on this book all the way down to 7,800. So I think it's a good thing that the surrounding books are showing such promise. And I mean, you can look at the recent sales that it went from in June 14 to 11 to 8 to 7,200. So it's going back. I mean, it's going back down to earth a little bit. But when you look at other books, like, let's take a look at some more recent sales. November. This book went from 53.83 in a 7.5 to 57.60. So this is still coming up. So again, it's a good thing to see the books around it coming up. But something like this is pretty steady. But again, I mean, the market peaked for sure in March, April, May of 2021, and it is coming back down to earth a little bit. But I think this book here is not the norm. It's somewhere in the middle of that. I mean, I think it's probably closer to around maybe 10,000. I think just two people got really good deals on this book. I think two people got really good deals on this book. So let's look at our next book. For this one, I got ASM 1 because around that time, in March, April, May, this book also shot to the moon. It went from, in many grades, it went from, like, let's take a look at, let's see here, in a 5.0, it went from 2020 average of $10,900 to $24,634 90-day GPA, $19,831 12-month GPA, and a most recent sale of $31,200. So this book is still on its way up. So this is a book that's actually gone to the moon. I mean, literally. It's still going up. The sales, every sale is going up more and more. AF-15, as you guys know, is another book that's just rocket shipped, and it's in another stratosphere now, pretty much. So yeah, it looks like ASM 1 is still doing extremely well. You look at all the recent sales in November anyway. That's almost a record sale. September, November, that's a record sale. These are recent sales, guys. So this is recent 9.2 went for 168 after the previous GPA was 159, so minimal increase, but still good to see it go up. Let's see, any more recent sales. Some October sales. October, that's going up. Looking for another November sale. And November, this is 7,200. 6,500 on a 1.0. A book just went for. Let's get a closer look at this too. This one's kind of gone up and down a little bit. The peak sale was 88.69, then shot down to 4,000. Wow, one went for 4,000, but then it shot right back up to 6,500. So again, there's a lot of things that go into this: page quality, presentation, how does it look. Let's take a look. This is a $5,000 copy here. Let's take a look. Went on Heritage. It's got some fading, but I mean that's to be expected with a 1.0. Some of the letters were written over, and that's something that definitely detracts from buyers. Some names written on the front cover, but a 1.0 you have to expect that. All right, well let's move on. Let's take a look at Amazing Spider-Man 129, the first appearance of Punisher. Let's find one with an excessive amount of sales. Here, a 9.0 had 61 sales, 19 sales. So let's stick with that, a 9.0. It looks like a book that's extremely well traded. So this book's 2020 average was $1,850 about. More than doubled. It went up about $2,000 in 2021, the 12-month GPA of 2021. And in the last 90 days, it's come up to $4,157. Now, the most recent sale was $3,850. So let's take a look at the map here. You can see, again, this Everything was peaking around that time. Now, it's pretty normal. If you look at these trajectories, you can see that pretty much every year around Christmas, they seem to come down a little bit. It's a little bit less pronounced on this because it has come up so much, and it makes the graph a little bit more zoomed in, so it's harder to see. But around Christmas time, it seems every year that it does dip a little bit, so that's a little to be expected. But yeah, this book is still holding pretty strong. Let's take a look at the most recent sales. So 4157 GPA. The most recent sales are definitely lower than that. So they're in the high 3 range. There was one here for 44. Let's take a look at this $3,600 sale and see what's going on with that. Extremely well presenting book. It's got white pages. It's a beautiful copy. Let me see. I have to sign in, which I have an account, but I don't want you guys to have to wait for me to sign in here. But yeah, it presents extremely well. So there's really not too much wrong with that. Again, that was a heritage book. So let's take a look at the 3840. I'm curious to see what the difference on the two is. So this one's actually went for $200 more, but has a miscut on it, which is interesting. So I think the other one presented better than this and went for a little bit less money. This auction just ended 2 days ago too. I think somebody got a good deal on that. So let's look at some of the most recent sales here. 90-day GPA and a 9.6. 2020 is 4,800. 90-day is $9,900, $14. The most recent sale of $11,600. Good golly, that was a big sale there. So, but it's not the high. The high is actually 13,300. So the previous sale, 9,000, 9,600, 9,000, 8,400. But there's that $13,000 sale, and it was actually in October, which is interesting. So just like the previous two books, this book is holding pretty well. It's gone up, I'd say, a little over 10%, and that's looks pretty standard across the map in the last 12 months. It's gone up about 10%, which is pretty solid. Now let's take a look at a DC book. For this one, I'm going to look at Brave and the Bold 28, the first appearance of Justice League of America. All right. Again, immediately we see green arrows, which is a good thing, meaning that the books are typically going up with each sale. Let's look at one that has the most sales. Now this is going to be a book that doesn't have a whole lot of sales, just because of when it's printed. It's an early Silver Age book. I think 1961, if I remember correct. 1960. So this predates Spiderman, Amazing Fantasy 15, predates Fantastic Four #1. So this is a key book that DC came out with that really sparked the team era. So let's see here. The most common, it looks like, is a 3.0. So let's go off that. The 2020 average is 1,800. It went up to 2,785. The 90-day is 2,830. And the most recent sale was $3,100. And that was just, let's see how long ago that was. That was just about a month ago. Almost exactly a month ago. So there's definitely a slight bump in that. But the average is just around $3,000. And you can see the chart. This book actually peaked. Interestingly, this book actually peaked because it is a DC book. You can see the trajectory is very different than what the trajectory on the Marvel books are. This book peaked, when would this be? In 2015, the very end of 2015, which I suspect that's about when the Justice League movie came out. And here's about where the Zack Snyder cut was released, I'm guessing, around the end of March. And you can see it's slowly creeping back up. So you're not seeing the same numbers that Marvel is seeing, obviously, because everyone's very into the MCU. But you're still seeing numbers that are holding true. Again, it's a very good sign when you see these up arrows on GPA, because that's what you want to look at. Next, let's take a look at Showcase 22, the first appearance of Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern. So again, there's not going to be a whole lot of sales of these books because this is the 1959. This came out a little bit before the Justice League of America, Brave and the Bold 28 did. And it is a 1950s book, so it is a little bit more rare, lower print run. But let's look at 2.0. So the GPA in 2020 was 1,417, the average. It was only 3 sales. It basically doubled in 2021 to about $2,800. And that's pretty much true to the sales that we've seen recently. There was a sale last month, however, that was $3,064. So it did bump up that GPA a little bit, but it is holding pretty true to what you're seeing with the other DC books that we've looked at, which is only one, Brave and the Bold 28. The 12-month and the 90-day are pretty dead on to one another. So let's take a look at our next book, Detective Comics 359, the first appearance of Batgirl. So this is a little bit more of a common book. It is from the 60s though, so it is still, in that same realm, that not really early Silver Age realm, but it is Silver Age book. Yeah, so again, you see green arrows, which is a good thing. Let's take a look at the 4.5 because there is a healthy amount of copies. The 2020 average was $560. The 2021 average has been $904. And the 90-day has been $1,039. So this is actually seeing a little bit of an increase of about 10% over the last 90 days. Now, the most recent sale, which was this month, was for $910. Let's take a look. So you can see the book was coming up a little bit, and then just the most recent sale actually dipped a little bit. The most recent sale before the December 1st sale was $1,298. Again, it's a good thing to see all these up green arrows, meaning that these books are still on the rise. You will see a few sprinkled in with the down, but it's still pretty dead on. I mean, 2561 as opposed to 2500. You're still pretty dead on with the valuation that you had 12 months ago. And you can see that's pretty much across the board. These prices are coming up a little bit. A lot of the time the low grades do come up before the higher grades because that's just what people can afford. So they do become a little bit more desirable as the book becomes more expensive. Some of these books that in the high grade you're paying thousands of dollars, somebody just wants a copy, so they're willing to pay $500 for a 2.0. So that's not really out of the norm. So in conclusion, after looking at 3 Marvel books and 3 DC books, you see that the Marvel books have really hit their peak in around the March-April timeline of 2021. And these DC books are still seeing an even keel gain. Now, I think as an investor, if you're looking at this as an investor, you look at it and say Marvel books are kind of on their way down a little bit, while DC books are just hitting their stride. I really think if you're looking to invest into books and not just have them as a collector, there's a ton of opportunity in DC books, especially these 3 keys that I looked at, wink, wink. These are books that I've bought quite a few copies of. Brave and the Bold 28. If you follow me on Instagram, you see that I've bought, I think, 3 copies recently. Detective Comics 359 is another awesome book that I've bought a couple copies of. And I am actively shopping some Showcase 22s. So again, in conclusion, DC looks good for 2022. What do you guys think? Leave a comment below. Let me know. Let me know if you think I'm on the money. Let me know if you think I'm off the mark. I'd love to hear from you guys. I thank you all so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Please follow me on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, whatnot. I sell them there weekly. And until next time, friends, have fun, be safe, buy collectibles. See ya.